Welcome to the Thoughtful Leader podcast. My name is Ben Brearley. I'm a leadership coach and the founder of Thoughtful Leader. The Thoughtful Leader podcast is all about short, sharp leadership advice because thoughtful leadership is good leadership. Welcome to episode 299 of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. In this episode, I'm going to talk about a few little cautionary tales for leaders using artificial intelligence tools, such as your ChatGPTs and all these popular ones that are all the rage these days. So let's get into this interesting topic right now. Now, to start with, I'm going to say I use ChatGPT and other artificial intelligence tools quite a lot. So I use them to help me with my marketing material. I help them sometimes to automate some of my podcasting process, generating my show notes pages for my podcast, which, by the way, is thoughtfulleader.com/podcast/299 for this episode. And yeah, I sometimes use it for personal things as well. I used ChatGPT to help me plan a vegetable garden, which is going relatively successfully at the moment. So there's so many different ways you can use AI. I also deliver a fundamentals of AI training course for a company as well. And so I'm quite in the AI space and I keep up to date with the latest news to try to keep abreast of what's going on because it's such a fast moving space. But today, in my true thoughtful leader style, I'm going to just provide some cautionary tales or cautionary advice for leaders using AI because there's been an explosion of different AI tools. And obviously ChatGPT is a big one. A lot of companies are using Copilot, the Microsoft version. There's also Claude, Perplexity, all these different AI tools out there. So firstly, I want to say that AI tools like these are very useful, and I'm certainly suggesting that you should use them for certain things. And today, though, I want to focus on some of the cautions I have around AI, because I think there is a bit of a tendency for people to go a bit gung-ho with regard to the use of artificial intelligence tools like your ChatGPTs and all these other things. And so I want to provide a bit of a counterpoint to that because I think we're reaching a point now where there's too much push for automation and AI use, and I don't think all of it is helpful. So the first thing I want you to consider, and particularly I'm talking about this from the focus of leadership roles, right? The first thing I want you to consider with artificial intelligence is the potential for deskilling your team. Now, artificial intelligence is excellent for efficiency. I'm encouraging you to use it and for your team to use it as well. But I do think it's important to remember the way that you became a really competent leader yourself. So let me give you an example from a certain industry, right? So there's a book called The Skill Code, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes page, thoughtfulleader.com/podcast/299. One of my colleagues at one of my workplaces recommended that to me, and I read that one, or listened to it actually as an audiobook. It had some interesting advice in there regarding the possibility that we are reducing the ability to upskill people. So let me explain. Let's say in the legal profession, for example, in the legal profession, there's a lot of document discovery and research done at the start of court cases or legal cases to create a case, understand the background, the context, any legal precedents, all those good things. Now, a lot of that sort of work was previously being done by junior lawyers. So the junior lawyers would do a lot of that grunt work and the finding the different resources and doing the document discovery, that sort of stuff. And the senior lawyers would use that information to create a case, all that sort of stuff. As you can tell, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm speaking in generalities. Now, what they've found is that sometimes what we're seeing in some professions is senior people in the organization are using AI tools to do a lot of that grunt work for them, therefore using less of the junior lawyers to do that work. Because why bother? I can just do it myself with a tool. But interestingly, that Skill Code book talks about that junior lawyers, the reason they become senior lawyers is because they get mentored and coached by senior lawyers over time in the workplace. So their time associating with the senior lawyers in the law firm actually helps them to learn new skills, make mistakes and learn from them, and get better as legal professionals. So think of what happens when you take out the time that you spend with the junior lawyers in that situation. Because you're using AI tools instead, you no longer have as much interaction with the junior lawyers, and therefore, where are they getting the skills and advice to become senior lawyers? And that's a real concern. Similar example given in the book was in surgery. So previously, a senior surgeon would be doing surgery with a junior surgeon, and the junior surgeon would be told to, oh, you can close up the patient, right? So we've done the surgery. The junior surgeon can close up the patient, which is quite a simple task, but they get to learn how to do it and they get to practice, right? So this helps them develop their skills over time. They become more competent and confident. But now with the advent of surgery and robots in surgery, for example, they are sometimes saying, well, the robot can close up the patient, so the surgeon doesn't need to do that anymore, and the junior surgeon doesn't get to do that either. So the question is, where is your team practicing to get better and be a better practitioner of whatever they do? So sometimes I think there is a bit of a caution here that we need to still have interaction between senior people and junior people in organizations, no matter what the profession is, because junior people need to have exposure and to learn from the senior people to be able to get better. Because otherwise, you're going to have huge problems where, well, we don't really have anyone with the expertise because all the senior people retire and none of the juniors have been brought through properly. So that's one thing to think about there. The next thing I like to think about from a leadership perspective is there's a lot of push for efficiency. We need to be more efficient. We need to get more done with less, all that stuff. The thing I'd get you to think about here is that if we're just being more efficient and we're getting more work done with less by using AI tools, for example, but then we're just piling more work on people, what is the benefit there? I mean, you're getting more work done, but everyone still feels stressed because, we hear about a lot of workplace stress and burnout, particularly these days. It's a really common thing where people are under huge amounts of stress in the workplace. So we're being more efficient, but then we're just getting people to do more work. They're still under the same amount of pressure. They're just delivering more. So I would ask the question, well, is that really a good thing? Because we're still having a stressed workforce. We're just delivering more stuff. And the other thing to consider is the motivational impact of that. So if I use AI tools to become more efficient in my job, but then I know that you're just going to pile more work on me, well, what's the point? Where are we actually getting to here? Have we just become so obsessed with doing more that we are going to do it at any cost, no matter what the burnout is? And the tools aren't really helping us anymore. They're just letting us do more so we can do even more after that. So that's another thing to consider. And it can be quite demotivating because people think, well, I'm more efficient, so maybe I could go home early. Well, no, you can't, because we're going to give you another 2 hours of work to do because you finished 2 hours early. So there's a motivational issue here as well, I think, in some cases. Another thing I find is that there can be credibility issues for people using artificial intelligence tools. So I saw a post on LinkedIn the other day, which was a copy and paste from ChatGPT, because you could see that it has the words in it, ChatGPT says such and such. So they've just pasted the entire thing into their post and posted it, without checking it thoroughly enough. So straight away, I think, well, did that person really think of this post, or did they just use AI and they just posted it without even putting any thought into it whatsoever? The same can be said for emails. The other day, I received an email from someone. I emailed someone with a simple request. They responded back, and I could tell it was written by ChatGPT or Copilot, an AI tool, because it had perfectly formatted bullet points in it that weren't really required. It had that long M dash in it. So the long dashes you see in content, often that's an AI tell as well. And you can tell that people are using AI tools to respond to things. So some people think, well, this is just smart. It's smart because it helps you write better than you do normally, and it helps you be more concise or, explain things better, which is all true. But there's also a potential for credibility issues and reputational issues and damage if people just think you're no longer thinking and you're just plugging a prompt into an AI tool and just copying and pasting the response that you get. So there's that credibility issue there, I think. So I think leaders, don't be afraid to be your authentic self. If you write an email, it's got a bit of a typo in it, or you use certain words that aren't, super professional, or it's not as polished as you like it to be. Don't think we should become obsessed with this polished AI sort of version of ourselves. We should be comfortable being authentic. And I think over time, what I'm seeing is people are starting to value authenticity more, not just a perfect post or a perfect email. They want to see authenticity. They want to know it's come from you because they want to hear from you, not your AI tool. Another thing that obviously is out there is the concept of hallucination. Now, hallucination is what we call the term when AI makes something up. So you use, let's say, Claude or ChatGPT or one of these tools or Copilot, and you ask it a question, you say, show me the latest research on whatever, and it can give you results that don't actually exist. So you have to really be cautious about checking the results and the information it's giving you without just passing it on as fact, because sometimes it actually makes it up. Now, some people think that it's making it up maliciously, or it's trying to fool you. It's not at all. This is how artificial intelligence tools and large language models like ChatGPT work. Basically, you give it a search term or a prompt, and it uses a neural network, which is basically a network of information connected in different ways. And it traverses these networks, which are huge, obviously, and it tries to predict what response you want. So it's actually a predictive technology. It predicts the probability of the thing you most want to see, and it returns that to you. So sometimes when it gives you incorrect data and incorrect information that isn't actually true, it's because it's predicting that actually that is what you want to see. That is the best response for what you've asked it. So it's not doing anything malicious. It is just doing what it's meant to do. But the takeaway there is if you just copy and paste things from ChatGPT into your emails that aren't actually true, then you're going to take a reputation hit as well. Another cautionary piece of advice I have for leaders with AI is to be careful not to use it to outsource your thinking. So as an example, if I write a blog post or create a podcast episode, I never use AI tools to generate the content for me. I will never write a blog post using AI tools. Now, why is this? It's because the process of thinking, me getting my thoughts together, understanding the topic, and actually, explaining it and breaking it down using my own brain is valuable to help me understand it better and for me to articulate my thoughts. Now, this is advantageous because if someone asks me about this thing later on, like if I'm running a leadership course or doing some coaching and someone asks me a question, I can recall that information because I took the time to think about it properly. So don't de-skill yourself completely by removing the thinking from your job. Make sure that you safeguard those important tasks where thinking and your own individual contribution is really important. Because if we don't, we lose the ability to think and think critically, definitely. So you need to think critically. And there are some studies that are coming out now where they show that the brain activity is reduced when people are relying on AI tools for generating results instead of thinking for themselves. Now, I'm not saying you should not use AI for anything, but really safeguard those things where it's really your own thoughts that are the valuable thing here, not the most polished output you can generate. So that's another one that I've got for you there. And the last thing I'll mention quickly is automation. So there's a big push on automating things, right? Okay, we want to automate this, automate that, use AI to do this faster, more efficiently, which I've already mentioned. Now, this sounds great. Some people like to think of this stuff and they like to push it as the next big thing. You need to use AI all the time, automate everything. Just remember that when we do this and when we talk positively about AI and when we're enthusiastic about the automation we're going to achieve with AI, just remember that whenever you say that, there's certain people that may be very worried that, well, if you automate everything, I'm going to lose my job. Why would we need me here if you're going to automate everything? Now, the important thing to notice is that I don't believe we should automate everything and automate the humans out of everything. But I do think that humans can be better spent doing some things like manual work, that are manual processing and things that is quite boring work. It's probably better for a computer or an AI tool to do that rather than humans, because humans can put their mind to more interesting tasks. So just remember that this thrill of using AI can actually be very fear-inducing for people around you and people in the organization. Now, there's an important concept in AI governance called human in the loop. So basically, you've got a human always looking at the results of AI to make sure it is correct and being used responsibly. So that's another thing to remember. If you're using AI tools, you need to make sure there's a human in the loop. So a human is verifying and checking this stuff and making sure that it makes sense. Because if you don't, you can't outsource responsibility to AI. So for example, if I used AI to create a podcast episode for me with my voice, and then I just posted it and it said some dodgy stuff in there, well, who am I going to blame for that? I can't blame the AI. It's my fault because I didn't check it. So this is why we need human in the loop as well. So that's another thing to remember. We don't want to take out that human. We always want to have a human in the loop. We may need less humans to do this certain work, but we need a human in the loop to make sure our AI is doing responsible things. All right. So those are some cautionary things about AI. I think there's a bit too much of the gung-ho approach to artificial intelligence and automation. So I thought I'd, take a bit of an opposing view to it. Not that I don't like it. I actually use it a lot, but I am very cautious because we can't just be blindly running ahead with this stuff. We've got to be thoughtful about how we use it in our organizations and for leadership as well. So thank you for listening to this episode. I'd love to hear what you think about AI. Do you use it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you worried about it? thoughtleader.com/podcast/299 is where to go to leave your comment telling me what you think about AI. I'm really keen to know. And if you have some time, take a couple of seconds to leave a positive review on your app of choice. I appreciate it. Helps me get the word out about the Thoughtful Leader podcast. Helps more thoughtful leaders like you find this podcast, which can be really helpful as well. All right. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. I'll be back next week.